am an industrial designer from London. I work just down the road. And I was born in the Midlands and moved over to London for university. And now I work at an industrial design consultancy called Precipice Design, and I also run an Instagram and YouTube page, Sam Does Design, where I teach people about the design industry and what goes on behind the scenes as well. I've been really lucky with my upbringing because one side of my family are mainly artists and the other side of my family are mainly engineers, and that means that between the two sides that is pretty much where design fits anyway. So while I was growing up, I was surrounded by all this, and I've been lucky enough to sit in the middle of the two. So I went to Brunel University London on their design course, and then that would have been about 5 years ago now, or maybe 6 years ago. Wow. Started university about 6 years ago, so I've been in London for about that time as well.
And what, how do you relate to your university course? Were you surprised? Or, because obviously whenever you're 18 or 19, when you're going to university, you have this idea of what it's going to be like, and then quite often I think it takes a slightly more a different path. Did you experience that, or?
I felt pretty relaxed at Brunel from the start, and I felt like I chose that university because I felt at home there already, even from the interview day. I went to go and view a few other universities, and I think they would have taken me a little bit more time to adjust and to get the vibe, but Brunel was just, I felt like I was home there. So the experiences I kind of got as I went through, because it is taught kind of it starts off being taught like a school with lectures and stuff, but then by the time you graduate, it's taught more like the real world is anyway, so there's that natural progression. So I think that might be university specific, and I was just lucky in that aspect, but it kind of made sense as I was going through it.
Yeah, no, because I've had a similar experience where one was more university strict focused and one was more practical focused at the end, and I remember appreciating that a lot.
Yeah.
Because so often it happens where you're not prepared and it's not a good position to be in.
And that's kind of like why I started Sam Does Design, because as much as university can prepare you for the design world, first off, there are a lot of designers out there now that don't go to university and they're all self-taught, and second off, even if you go to university, they can't prepare you fully for the real world. So I started Sam Does Design to be I'm now the guy on the inside, relaying information back, and I want to be the spy in the industry that's saying, this is how it really is, and then giving that information back. So that's kind of why I started it, to have this more transition phase and let people know how industry works as well.
And I guess when you've had a nice kind of road yourself, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's probably come a lot of hard work. I know that for sure.
Yeah.
But when you've had this and things have kind of gone well and you've learned a lot in kind of a soft environment maybe, it lets you kind of want to help other people, right?
Yeah.
So it's also nice whenever you have probably a lot of people that ask you whenever you're doing your Sam Does Design, how did you get this and how did this happen for you? And they're maybe in a position where they haven't quite got there yet, but actually they're quite close. It's just that moment hasn't arrived where they get it. It's like when you're flat hunting or something, it feels forever like you're searching, and then one day you just have a place, and it changes in a moment.
Yeah, and that's true. And I have been really lucky, like you said. University is a great place to try things out and fail. It's safe, because in industry, if you try a new product or a new method of making something and it doesn't work, then there's a lot of health and safety on the line, people's lives a lot of the time, and cost as well. But at university, you can try these things and fail with less repercussions. That's to try and get people to make the switch and become comfortable doing that is cool as well.
So when you were studying or practicing to become kind of a designer, did you ever have any other career that you were kind of close to following? I guess this is like the pre-university stage when you are still surrounded by like maths and the sciences. Did you know you were a designer as you were getting to that point?
It was pretty. I would say yes, because I had the choice. Like I said, I could have gone down the more engineering route. I could have gone down the more artistic route. And I kind of split the difference and went for design because one, I really don't like maths and physics and stuff. So while I was learning them at school, it's good to have a base knowledge of it, but I really don't enjoy doing it. And on the art side, I find it a little bit too freeing, which sounds weird, but I really like the fact that design has engineering constraints, but you're not bound to the engineering numbers. And I really like working towards those constraints and pushing the boundaries of those. With the art side, there's no constraints, which is great for some people, but I just really like to work to what I'm given in front of me. So it was kind of decided for me already, just from my interests anyway. So there was never really any other, not even some crazy like other field of work that I wanted to go in. It was always, I'm just going to carry on doing what I like.
Nice. And is there some moment that you would describe as kind of like your break, like when it kind of started really happening for you? And is there a characteristic or value that you believe helps it helped define you in that moment?
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of the opportunities that I've had over the past year or two have come from social media, and I would say my break in social media was I was posting stuff, sketches, stuff and renders and stuff on Instagram, and there is an American body school of teaching, I guess, and they were called Advanced Design Sketching at the time, and they had quite a big following, and they were going around asking students for their insights and their aspects. They were going around asking students about their, I can't think of the word. Experience, yeah. So Advanced Design Sketching were going around and asking students around the world about their experiences as a design student. And they approached me and said, hey, we'd love to do a 1 minute, 2 minute video on you. And you just record what you think design sketching is to you. And at the time I was thinking, well, I've got deadlines coming up, I've got uni work coming up, and I don't really want to spend time out of that. I gave it some thought and I thought, actually, this is like the opportunity. Like, this is where I could make a difference to my social media presence. And it was that change of thinking solely about university versus thinking about things on the larger scale. I think I was in the right place at the right time, but it was that decision to make the switch. And I did the video for them, they posted it, and already there was a bump in the community that I had. And then after that, it's working with other people. That was my first online networking interaction, and then it's just snowballed after that. So I would say that was the first break, and I'm really grateful that I was in the right place at the right time.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to skip off the piece again a little bit, but so did you find at a point before that you maybe find it more difficult to not be open, but to actually kind of like feel that you were validated in giving advice per se? And then at some point you're kind of like, well, no, but I have done a lot. There are people that know more than me, but there of course are people that also want to know what I think. Mm-hmm. Was there a moment where that kind of changed?
Yeah, absolutely. That came a little bit later. That didn't come for a long time actually, because I started Instagram as a place to learn from others, and I would post sketches, and if you scroll through my page you can see that the sketches at the very start are not very good. So I was literally posting stuff saying like, how can I improve this? And I was really trying to ask for help. And then eventually, after doing that for 6-8 months, maybe a year, I was carrying on posting sketches, but then people would start to ask me, oh, hey, how did you do that? Or how did you get this effect? And it took me a while to realize that actually there'd already been a switch and I hadn't realized. So then once I realized people were asking me how to do things, then it was like, okay, now I can tell them how to do it and they're gonna appreciate me sharing knowledge instead of me just saying how I do things and no one cares, you know? So there was a definite change in mindset, and that's when Sandler's design changed more from like my aspect of trying to grow as a designer, and it still is that, but it became more about sharing what I've learned through the past as well. In my day-to-day job as a designer, I use all the traditional softwares like the Adobe Suite. I use a program called SolidWorks for modeling designs, and I use a program called Keyshot to render those designs. When I'm doing sketches, I will either be doing pen and paper for really rough, I would never show anyone these sketches apart from other designers, doodles, and then if I want to take it into a more refined sketch, then I'll always use the iPad. I don't use any other medium, I don't sketch in Photoshop or anything like that, it's always the iPad. And I think what's interesting is there are so many programs out there that can do different things, and I'm starting to pick them up. So there's programs like Blender, which is another modeling software, but that has simulation and physics built in. So you can simulate smoke, steam, liquids and stuff like that, and cloths. And that's really interesting as a visualizer like me to then not be bound by, I've made a square box in SolidWorks, that's the design, versus now this design has a flowing shape and a simulated cloth and stuff like that, which is really cool as well. So it's bringing in these other programs that can help with that as well. I obviously work in a big team, and when I'm doing stuff on my own, it's my own process, and there are vast differences based on the size of the project as well. So we at work, we work with clients that are corporations, and we work with huge companies working on products that can take 5-10 years to come to market, just because of the chain of events that need to happen to get that to market. So I'm a small cog in a big machine there, which is great to work in a team, and as a team we really impactful. How do I say it? Which is great working as a team because we're really impactful on the way that a business is run as a consultancy. But then when I'm working on my own projects, like the lamp, for example, it's more freeing for me, and that tips me more to the artistic side, like I said it, and it's got less constraints and more about what I think it should be, which is really cool. Yeah.
Can you tell us maybe a little bit about the lamp, actually?
Yeah. So I designed a light with Gantry Designs. They are an American manufacturer and designer of 3D printed lamps, and it's made from a corn-based polymer, so it's environmentally friendly, but they collaborate with designers around the world, and the designers submit their designs, and Gantry takes care of the testing, the manufacturing, the marketing, the shipping, and the customer satisfaction. They take care of all of that, and it becomes a marketplace for designers around the world to sell their lamps. So I worked with them on a light called Gwilt, and the idea behind Gwilt was I'm taking a solid orb of light, and I wanted to make it look as if it had impacted on the base, on the cylinder. And the reason behind that is because 3D printing as a process is essentially taking a material and melting it and then extruding it into a shape. And I wanted to capture that process of melting material and make it look as if the lamp had stayed melted and then had been impacted with the orb of light. And that's why you see this crease where it is, because that's the impact side, essentially. I think for any creative trying to move to a big city like London, it's really tough. And figuring out, like after university, you're kind of like in the world, with no safety net anymore, and figuring out where to live and who you live with, and bills and stuff to be really boring, it's really tough as a creative to get those all secure. Because the creative industry is renowned for not being paid as well as it should be. So for the first 6 months of being an industrial creative in industry, it was really tough, and making sure that paychecks caught up with the deposit that I had on the flat. There's so much money up front that you need to move to a big city like this. So I've been really lucky for the fact that I've been able to do that. It's not for everyone, and you don't need to be in a big city to be creative. But it's finding your feet for the first time. That was the trickiest bit. But that's more life advice. Life is hard.
I understand for sure.
Yeah.
Because there is that thing where you're shoved into a world where you kind of almost need to be further than you are financially, but before where you are experience-wise.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like trying to adjust somewhere in the middle.
Exactly.
I think you hit it on the head. And do you have like a favorite, a special piece, something that is like particularly special to you?
I would say that the gantry weight line, that's my first design with my name on it. So that is the first one. And when the box arrived, when it arrived for the first time in its final packaging and everything, and it said weight designed by Sam Gwilt, I've kept that box because that was just really nice to see. I think that's the one. There are other projects at work that we've worked on as a team. Unfortunately, I can't even say our clients because they're all under disclosure, but there are lots of projects that I'm really proud of, but weight is the one that I'm going to have forever.
What was that moment like when you received it? Do you remember it?
Yeah, so I was sat at my desk, back to the door, and I know it was arriving on that day. And we're constantly having mail delivered up and down to the office, so people going back and forth, and that's fine. And then all of a sudden, someone walks up behind me, and they put the box there, and I look at it, and it's I can remember looking down at it, picking it up. I got my phone out to put it all on Instagram because I wanted to share that. I did a live session unboxing it for the first time. So it was really cool actually to unbox it, not only with the people at work, but with whoever was watching on Instagram as well on the live session. We were having a talk about it and stuff. And that was a special day. Yeah.
And do you ever feel like whenever you are capturing for social media, like, do you find it quite difficult to choose when and when not to? Because sometimes it's like you kind of want to enjoy a moment just for yourself, but you know that you can't redo that moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do feel like that sometimes. And if, for example, if I'm going around a museum, or if I'm going around a gallery, or if I'm at a networking event, then I'm in the moment, and I'm interacting with the world how it should be interacted with. I mean, I might snap a photo or two, but then post them later on after the fact. But yeah, there is a definite switch between now I'm here and now I'm sharing here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I've done a few lectures and talks at this point. I did a talk up in Sheffield, and I've just done a lecture at Imperial College London yesterday. And when people stay behind after those lectures, just to say, hey, appreciated the time, or I thought it was really interesting, that is why I do it. That is why I spend so much time with all this effort that I'm doing online and going to these different events, is because I want to help people. So the fact that they just express saying it helped, that's like, tick the box, that's perfect. Like, I've done my job. So that's really cool.
And did you ever expect to kind of go into that sort of teaching capacity? Like, did you ever see that before you
No, I mean, I've always enjoyed talking to people, and I guess I've always enjoyed presenting stuff, if ever we have a presentation, because I really like, if I really believe in something, I think I can talk about it forever, like I can just carry on. And there was a lot of times at university when there was projects that I didn't believe in, and I didn't believe in what I had done, and it really showed when I gave to do the presentation at the end. It was awful and I hated it, and I kind of said to myself, I'm going to get better at that. I'm going to get better at presenting, I'm going to get better at believing in what I've done. And that's kind of where it snowballed again. So it's a cross between making sure that I fully believe in what I'm saying and making sure that I'm helping other people as well. And between the two, that has drawn me into the teaching and lecturing stage as well. So that kind of ticks both boxes, so it's really cool. Going to university to study design or art or anything creative, and if I ask certain people in the industry now, they would say that's a formality that you need to do so we know that you can do it and we can employ you. I wouldn't agree with that, and I can see on the online community there are so many freelance or employed people at companies that didn't go to university and they're all self-taught. So I would say the piece of advice that I heard for going to university and going to higher education, I don't think it's necessarily for everyone, and I don't think you're at a disadvantage if you don't do it either.
Yeah, because it's not so much that you won't get a job with it. It's more just that your career path will maybe be a different style of work.
Yeah. So instead of learning things in a classroom formally, you can go and learn things out in the real world. You can take on freelance work, you can do personal projects and gain that experience in a different way, and then you kind of come in through a different door, but you still get employed later on down the line as well. There are so many tutorials online for learning about specific skills, but you just need to know what skills you're looking for. So YouTube tutorials on sketching, photography, rendering, all that good stuff, they're out there and they're free. If you want to start picking up pen and paper, they're close to free. A Bic or biro, that's all you need to get going in design sketching. So they're free or relatively free. The next step up from that is The next step up from that in terms of skill base is either an online course specifically for that skill, and there are paid courses out there, but also I think a better use of time would be to go to a networking event or to go to a design biennale or a Milan Design Week. That's a lot of money to go to, but to get that experience and see what other people are doing, see what is going on in industry, I think really helps as well. So that's quite a big step up. Free YouTube, nearly free pen and paper, or go to Milan Design Week. That's a big difference. But just get out there in the real world, get out there and get inspired, and just surround yourself in the world that you want to be part of. I think that's
nice. Yeah.
Cool. So up next for me, I am hoping to give more talks, hoping to connect more with people in the real world, not just online. But online I'm actually working on a YouTube series called Design in Process, and I am starting from scratch and designing the products all the way through to manufacture at the end, and I'm documenting that throughout the whole process so people can jump on and watch that as I go along. If you want to find me online, you can find me at Sam Does Design on Instagram, Sam Does Design on YouTube, Sam Does Design on Twitter, and samdoes.design on my website.
Amazing! Thank you very much!
Thank you so much!